Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you guys my Demiurge Zodiac Beast deck profile for November 2016. Probably one of the most difficult deck profiles I've had to work on just because it's such a combo-oriented deck. You have to get the specific combo off, and that is to get Demiurge's effect off by having all 12 of the Zodiac Time Beasts. I use the Idea Drones in mine. I think it's the most consistent and defensive deck of them all for Demiurge. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile. I run one Deus Ex Machina Demiurge. His effect is you have to place 12 Zodiac Time Beasts with different names from your bind zone into the drop zone. And if you do, you basically can choose 12 cards from your drop zone and stack them on the top of your deck in any order. So you can put crits, heals, in any order you find appropriate. And your opponent cannot guard with grade 1s or higher for the attack. So you can triple crit them and basically hit 41k on your own and have them only be able to use grade 0s or G Guardians or any other special abilities. So it's an all-hit pressure effect, but extremely difficult to get off. I'm not going to say you're going to hopefully get it off every game, but if you're consistent with it and you play your cards right, then it is very possible to get the effect off. I also run 4 Deus Ex Machina Ergos. It's an on-hit effect that allows you to put a card in your bind zone, then swap out with another card. It's basically so you can have consistency with what's in your bind zone, because some of the effects to allow cards in your bind zone with this deck are random. So this adds for pressure as well as consistency. And I also run 4 Bind Time Dragon. This card is probably your best bet for getting cards in the bind zone. With this card, I once put 5 cards at once into the bind zone, and they were all different Zodiac Time Beasts. That took away half of the problem right there, because you basically counterblast one, soul blast one, choose as many of your rear guards as you want, bind them, then for everyone you bound, bind one of your, return one of your opponent's rear guards to the bottom of the deck for every card in your bind zone. So while taking care of their rear guards and also giving Vanguard pressure, you're helping to set up your Demiurge play. So you basically have to do this twice and then, have a couple other Idea Drone effects go off, and you have your 12 right there, as long as you have the 12 different ones, of course. And I also run 2 Ragnarok just for extra pressure with the deck. If you had Chrono Fang, Rebellion, and you wanted to run it instead, you could do that. But Chrono Fang isn't the main Vanguard ride target in this deck, which is why I don't have him in the stride zone. I also run 1 Huang Long. Just it's an optional play, really, with this card. If you wanted to grab one of your Zodiac Time Beasts from the bind zone to call it to rear, if you knew you weren't going to get off Demiurge this game, he's the play to go for. And for Quintet Walls, I run 3 Uluru, which is the put back from the drop zone +5, and 1 Pandora Chimera, which helps to take care of your opponent's back row units. That's it for the stride zone. We'll move on to the main deck. I run 4 Propathia Idea Drone. This is your main ride target of the deck with this unit. It's GB2, lets you Soul Blast 1 and choose one of your grade 2 or less Guardians and bind it. When this unit is placed on guard circle during the battle, your opponent's a Vanguard attack. You may pay the cost. If you do, this units get plus 15,000 until the end of that battle. So if you place, let's say, like a draw trigger Zodiac Time Beast, you can bind it, get shield plus 10, which is a lot better than a 5k. Adding to your guard for an attack and also helping with the bind zone. You can only do it for Vanguard, otherwise if it did every unit, that'd be incredible. But it's a defensive play, making guards easier. And its other effect is counterblast 1 and choose a card from your drop zone, bind it face up. At the end of the turn, you may pay the cost. If you do soul charge and choose one of your rear guards, bind it face up. If you bound a card, your opponent chooses one of her rear guards and puts on the bottom of his or her deck. So that also helps the bind effect, which is the whole basis of this card. And it also allows for you to build up soul for the GB1 effect, while also taking care of your opponent's rear guards. And I also run 2 Chrono Fang Tiger. Just 2 of this. It is a Zodiac Time Beast, which is one of the reasons I run it. It's also a very good ride target as well if you end up not being able to go into the Idea Drone just because of its bind free cost effect. The only thing I found is if I ride it most of the time and I have one in the damage zone, it makes getting off the 12 different Zodiac Time Beasts a lot more difficult because I run 13 Time Beasts in total in the deck. including 2 Chronofang, Chrono Jet Dragon G, another Zodiac Time Beast. It works with its effects for the Time Beast deck, but like I said, it's more just there to have options for Time Beasts. And for grade 2s, I run 4 Diaperno Idea Drone. It's a Counterblast 1 plus 2 effect. When you Counterblast, you bind the top card of your deck, so if you get lucky, oops, sorry about that, I had to adjust the camera. If you get lucky, you can hit Zodiac Time Beast with the bind. If not, you can always fix it later with said Stride Ergos. And it has an on-hit effect as well. If it hits, you can get 2 more units in the bind zone and also a counter charge, because this deck does use up your Counterblast a lot, which is what you want to watch out for. And I also run 2 Kaigomai Idea Drone. If the number of cards in your bind zone is 5 or more, this unit gets resist. And when it intercepts during the battle that your Gear Colossus was attacked, you search your deck for up to 1 Zodiac Time Beast, bind it face up, shuffle your deck, and if you bound a card, it gets a +5 shield. So another easy way to get cards in your bind zone while also playing defensively. And I also run 2 Chrono Claw Monkey. For the Zodiac Time Beasts, their effects are really irrelevant for the deck. They're just there because they're needed for the Demiurge plays. But I run 2 Monkey, 2 Buffalo. Oops, Snake jumped in there as well. 2 Buffalo and 2 Snake. I find that 2 of each is the most consistent. I've seen some people play 1, but if you get them in the damage zone, that pretty much messes up the whole concept of the deck. And for grade 1s, I run 4 Steam Scholar Emiliana. She has a bind effect with her Quintet Wall ability and also putback effect, so good defense, also setting up your bind zone plays. The reason I run her over the Gear Colossus Quintet Wall is because there are times when you're not going to be on a Gear Colossus Vanguard, so you want to be sure to always have optional working perfect guards. I also run 3 Voltero Idea Drone. This card helps just because it's a swap effect for countercharging for cards in your bind zone, so that helps immensely if you get like Idea Drones in the bind zone and you don't want them there. And I also run 2 Chrono Dash Peccary, more Zodiac Time Beast, the 8K, 2 Chrono Charge Unicorn, and 2 Chrono Ethros Jackal. That finishes up the grade 1s. For grade 0s, I run 1 Chrono Drawn. It's a Time Beast, so best starter to run. It'll always be on rear guard. Plus, it has that effect where if it's bound, you can put it in the soul and search for a Chrono Jet, which there are ways to get the ones from the bind zone, the drop zone, into the bind zone. So if you soul blast this for effects, you can definitely put it in the bind zone, plus searching for a Chrono Jet to use. And I also run 4 Arnakia Idea Drone. This card lets you randomize cards from your soul, bind zone, and hand. And if you do, you can reset orders by putting this card on top of your deck, checking top 3, and resetting basically. So you take the cards from where they were, bind zone, soul, and I think it's hand or drop zone. Drop zone, yeah. And if you do, you can basically re-add those units to their respectable places with the cards you grabbed from the top of your deck. And I also run 4 Chrono Valley Rabbit, just the crits to finish it up. 4 Hamster, because heals and crits are pretty much standard in the deck. And 2 Chrono Timer Leghorn, and 2 Chrono Days Sheep, just because I do want to run the other critical in the deck, but I still need to run the Zodiacs. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. It is a fun deck, so definitely try it out. If you get off Demiurge, you get an immense feeling of accomplishment. And it's also a lot of fun. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.